Hey, Salut Friends. Today we are looking at Habit Rouge, Rouge Privé from Guerlain, which has a rouge too much in the name, could have simply been called Habit Rouge Privé, which is what I'm going to call it for the remainder of this video. This was a 2023 release created as a new flanker for the original Habit Rouge, which is of course one of the most legendary masculine creations from Guerlain. This seems to be the only classic masculine Guerlain which keeps getting flankers, just like Shalimar, which is considered its counterpart. I think it really comes down to the fact that it still sells really well even today. Many people kind of pass on this perfume from father to son and whatnot. It's always in the conversation amongst perfumistas and the public alike. I have seen parents introducing this scent to their young sons at the local boutique and such. Many perfumers wear it when they feel like wearing a fragrance, including Thierry Vasser considers it to be his signature scent, Quentin Beach, etc. And it has still been kept in a decent shape. I have just the EDT and EDP versions of Habit Rouge which I enjoy. There has been other versions like L'Eau, Sport and Extrait. Amongst the current perfumers, Vasser did Dress Code. Delphine Gel has done 3. The Instinct version which has been forgotten. This and the latest Parfum version. Now I have mentioned Rouge Privé in a few videos before, but never got around to do a dedicated one because I thought this was supposed to be a limited edition along with Platine Privé. I'm not sure if it's the case in the US or the UK, but in Europe this is still widely available and even at discounters almost after a year. Not sure if it did not sell well because those Shalimar Millésime releases go rather fast, or they just became part of the main flankers. In any case, they seem to be still available, at least for now. You never know with Guerlain, they do random changes all the time. Nonetheless, I went into this without a lot of expectations. One, because Delphine's creations, of course with the consideration that she is just following the briefs given to her, have been more misses than hits. The last new release I liked from Guerlain was Iris Torréfiée from 2021. Second, like I said, the last Habit Rouge flanker, Instinct, was a disaster. Not sure who really came up with the idea to add cannabis to Habit Rouge and twist it to a woody amber blue fragrance. On the contrary, I was quite surprised in a good way when I smelled this one. This opens with the familiar bergamot note from the original, tangy, lemony, creamy and bright, less sour. Here there is also ginger which adds a spicy, sweet, energizing quality to the opening. That lemony haze is maintained fairly into the later dry down here, just like the original. There's got to be something green in the opening apart from the bergamot, possibly basil. A prominent orange blossom with modern musks also appears, which makes this more contemporary and turns it from going in the classic cologne direction. Signs of vanilla and leather also start to appear. After that bright lemony opening, you get to the floral heart, which is mainly dominated by the orange blossom here, I would say. The soapy, sweet characteristics brought by the orange blossom was a major component of the original Habit Rouge when Jean-Paul Guerlain tried to adapt the scent profile of Shalimar. Here it is even more prominent, dense and waxy, almost brings that modern designer edge to the fragrance. I'm getting little hints of a spicy rose as well. Carnation, I think, has been removed. This is not as complex as the original, which blends different families like amber, fougere and aromatic and makes all those notes work symphonically. This is much more straightforward, does not have that whimsical trajectory that the original takes on at times. The original also beautifully balances the kind of soft, gentle side of the vanilla with this reassuring leather in the base, being dirty and clean at the same time. This one goes more toward the carpet-like suede leather, eventually getting more and more closer to the carnal side of this tactile leather, somewhat horsey too. An undercurrent of smokiness, not too much, likely because of the labdanum, which is more prominent here compared to the EDT. Here it was reminding me more of the EDP, which went more in the darker, amber direction, not necessarily animalic in the general sense, but within the context of this 2024 designer ecosystem, it is indeed a bold step, so kudos for that. Then there's also iris, which really acts like a connecting chain in the fragrance and helps streamline the floral heart with the woods, amber and the leather in the base. Reminded me of the iris in Dior's Cuir Ganache to some extent. It shares its waxy floral side with the orange blossom, the musky suede side with the leather, and the powdery side with the amber and vanilla. There is something cool in here as well. Could just be the orange blossom or maybe some juniper or some other aroma chemicals which gives it that playful edge and modernity compared to the original. As it dries down, the lemony vanilla becomes soft and creamy, joined by the benzoin. Hints of that iris and orange blossom are still detectable. Patchouli also helps support them through the final stages. A good amount of woodiness also comes through, possibly a combination of cedar and sandalwood. The leather also becomes less prominent from the initial dry down, blends with the woods and forms this lemony, snuggly, singular smell. Again, in that way, I find it closer to the Habit Rouge Eau de Parfum version than the original Eau de Toilette. In some ways, it even reminded me of this one, Parfum d'Habit from Maître Parfumeur et Gantier, which also has a woody leather base. With the naming, scent profile, this being dedicated to this idea of dandies, I feel some inspiration from Habit Rouge, though it's a fantastic fragrance by itself. Coming back to the far dry down, the soft, leathery, woody smell, engulfed by the creamy vanilla and musks, is what remains as the scent fades away. The performance is rather good, 8 hours with overall moderate projection. It works well pretty much year round for me, maybe not in extreme heat, but I have worn it with less praise even in summer, just like I do with Shalimar and the other Habit Rouge flankers, and it worked fine. Pricing is not too bad, about or under 100 euros from discounters, which is getting rare nowadays. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this, one of the best releases from 2023, even mentioned in my best purchases of the year list. May or may not have gotten a backup for myself when I was offered a deal of 50 euros. Overall, I still prefer the original EDT in terms of smell, which is not a fair comparison, but still it is more complex and captures the balance that I mentioned much better. But I gotta admit, I have worn this a lot more, as you can see from the dent. This scent profile feels more robust, muscular and squared off, which has been an issue with some other creations of Delphine Jalc. But here, getting straight to the point with the broad strokes seems to have worked in her favor, as the overall theme has been kept the same. If that was a 60s dandy who went on hunting and such, this is a modern dandy who rides horses for a hobby. I think the main takeaway from this is not to tamper the core scent profile of classic Habit Rouge. The Parfum version this year, for instance, took it a little too far with the rum and vanilla in this boozy, gourmand, banana foster like direction, which I feel like took away from the theme of Habit Rouge, making it decadent and calorific. Here they have made just the sufficient tweaks to make it its own thing, while still being a sincere flanker to the original, keeping that neoclassical approach that I have been obsessed with. The new Vetiver Parfum also succeeded by adopting this approach. We shall wait and see what else is there to come for Habit Rouge in the future. I am sure they are not going to stop. Parfum versions of Héritage and L'Instant are also in the works probably. But for now, as long as it's available, this is the best modern Habit Rouge, I think, and certainly one of the better homage creations from Guerlain in recent times. So there you have it, my thoughts on Habit Rouge Privé. Thanks for watching, take care and ciao.